discussion, meetings with congressmen, with staffers, with our Ukrainians and Russian friends, diaspora. Today, not Friday, but today is special day. Special because we have a beautiful panel with lady, with gentleman, and Ilya, you know him. He will be moderate today. I don't want to take his bread. He moderate, not I. We see the future of Russia with hope about a new Russia after Putin's. It's our dream. And all things that we do, all our discussion, our meetings, is for that. I think you understand my English, so I'm here not long time. And so today, when I was a member of Russian Parliament, we celebrate 12th of June because Mr. Yeltsin was elected as first president of Russia that time. And that time we believed in future Russia, free Russia, that integrate in civilization for a long time. But now the situation against that. But I think we all, with your help, do something little for future Russia. So thank you for all, for coming, and Ilya, let's go.
Thank you very much, Arkady. So I would explain the rules. Today we have a debate between two distinguished representatives of national liberation movements of the regions which are currently inside Russian Federation, but they have different vision about their future. And the rules are the following. Firstly, the panelists would introduce themselves very quickly. Then I will ask them several questions with very brief answers, which are to explain their position on the most crucial issues that are related, whether independence, autonomy, what's the future of Russia, what's the future of their nations. So to understand the position. Then the panelists will have a chance to ask questions to each other. And I sometimes would probably intervene and try to sharpen up to provoke the debate. And in the first, in the third section of the event, you would have the chance to ask questions, and please make them tough. So don't make their life easier. So with this, Rajana, could you please introduce yourself?
Good evening, everyone. I'm happy to greet you here, and I'm so grateful to Mr. Ilya for this invitation, because it is very important for us, wanted criminals in Russia, to be heard and to be among like-minded people. And as for myself, my name is Rajana Dugar de Ponte. I was born Rajana Dugarova. Now my last name is Dugar de Ponte. I decided when I became a citizen of the United States in 2021, I decided to get rid of this Ova from my last name, because this is not, this is something artificial. That's why right now, like first part of my surname is Dugar. Yes. Please come. I was born in Ulan-Ude many years ago. It is a capital of Buryatia. So I was a witness of all these historical events that happened during my lifetime. So I was a school child during Brezhnev's years, stagnation. I was a young and very romantic person during Gorbachev perestroika, you know, this wind of change, all this stuff. We were really full of hope that something is going to happen, that this country, Russia, will become a normal country for like where we can live like ordinary people and not suffer all the time. And then there was, of course, the 90s. There were the 90s. They were not that bad, really. It was also quite a tumultuous period, but at the same time, we had freedom of expression, freedom of press. And then there was Putin, who is now more than 20 years in power. And now I would say that situation in Russia is even worse, much worse than I actually experienced as a child during Brezhnev years. This is actually situation is closer to Stalin's years, when my ancestors, when my ancestors, yes, were actually persecuted and were killed by the regime. So right now I represent the democratic movement Buryat-Mongol Erheten, the Committee for Buryat Independence, and the Free Nations League. Thank you.
Did you say Buryat?
Buryat.
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 Is this state within state?
It is a republic in Russia. You know, Russia is called federation, though it is not federation, of course. Buryatia is a republic in southern Siberia. It borders with Mongolia. So we have close ties with Mongolia and Lake Baikal.
It's on Baikal
also.
Lake. Very beautiful.
Lake Baikal.
Yeah. Kind of like Inner Mongolia, Chinese side.
Good evening. I'm Pavel Ivlev. I'm a Russian American. I was trained to be a lawyer, and I was for 30 plus years, a Russian lawyer. Because of that, I was acting for the big oil company in Russia, whose name was Yukos. And as you know, Yukos was attacked by the government. Putin decided to expropriate the big oil business and put the leader of the company in jail. So because I was a lawyer, there was some immediate, or not immediate, but very much fast following attack against me, so I had to run. So in 2004, I left Russia forever and live here in the US, a citizen. Here, you know, I started to get more into the politics and did a lot of different things, including lobbying for Magnitsky Act back in 2011-12. Then I set up my own nonprofit. I was first the boss of Institute of Modern Russia, but that's a gone thing, unfortunately. Khodorkovsky decided he doesn't need it. Anyway, what else? Yeah, of course. And my current project called House of Ingria, or Ingri Maya, and which is really an actual house, a little bigger than this one, but not in DC. It's in Narva, which is Estonia. And Narva is the most eastern city of the European Union. So it's right on the border with Russian Federation. And why, you know, Ingria is the historic name, Ingria or Ingerman land, is a historic name to the east from Narva. So Here's Estonia, bordering Russia, all the way to St. Petersburg, and even further to the east. That's Ingria, which is now called Leningradskaya Oblast, after Vladimir Lenin. And St. Petersburg is included. So I'm part of the Free Ingria movement. You might heard something about it. It's sort of a popular thing, at least among younger people from St. Petersburg. And yeah, we believe that independent Ingria, not part of Russia, but really an independent state, will be a much better future for that land, for its neighbors, and for the whole universe. And as you know, it's all east of the Baltic Sea. Finland is to the north, Estonia is to the west. So we have two main ports, modern ports of Russia. One is primarily for oil, the other one is for gas. It's where the Nord Stream goes into pipe and then to Germany. It's all located in Ingria. St. Petersburg is 6+ million, and the whole population of Ingria is now between 8 to 10 millions, who knows? I mean, 8 officially, but it's more. So what else I forgot to tell about myself?
Leave it to the debates. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. As a lawyer, I'll love it.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much. And I kindly ask you, when you would be answering questions, hold the mic, because the mic is needed not for us here to hear each other, but for the streaming, so that you would be heard online. So we've done the introductions. Firstly, quick questions. I'm asking for the most important question. Should Russia collapse? Rajana.
Absolutely, of course. That's the reason that we actually convene each time at this forum of free nations of post-Russia. It's for the Buryat people, it's the only way to actually survive right now, because we were during our history within the Russian Empire and then Soviet Union, as many other peoples of the Soviet Union, we had suffered a lot of casualties, a lot of victims, a lot of people killed. My own relatives were actually repressed and killed by Stalin in 1937 and 1938. And before that, there was collectivization. And before that, there was colonization that lasted, the war that lasted for more than 100 years. So we are now really just surviving. We are not thriving. For example, Mongolia, the population of Mongolia has grown 3 times maybe from the beginning of the 20th century. Not 3 times, more than 3 times. I mean, 5 times, yes, 5 times. Imagine that. And the Buryat populations from the beginning of the 20th century just doubled in number. And there was a period of time between the 20s and the 30s and the 1939 when the number of Buryats actually decreased. It's a statistic. It just shows the level of genocide. And of course, for us, it's the last chance. The last chance to become our own people, our own land and country.
Thank you. And I really ask, to keep it short, because you are jumping a little bit ahead in terms of questions, because I would have asked this question, why you want this. But now I'm turning this to Pavel. Pavel, the same question. Should Russia collapse from your point of view?
Well, I agree, it should. I just would avoid term collapse. I would prefer dissolution of Russia, or even as a lawyer add to that, voluntarily dissolution of Russia. That's what is needed. And I think, of course, all the lands and regions, especially Buryatia, those very remote from Moscow and definitely occupied parts of today's Russian Federation, has to be made free. That's important. And for the, land around Moscovia, that's probably a different story because of a lot of history. I still strongly believe that Ingria is much better served to be independent for itself and for the neighbors, but there can be different stories for different, it's very hard to see, say, Ivanovo separate from Moscow, but maybe, who knows?
Okay, we're missing Pavel here because he would have a different opinion, but you answered my second question, whether your nation or region should be independent. So I'm jumping to the third one. What do you think needs to be done with those nations inside Russia, which right now do not have a region for themselves, who are minorities in somebody else's region? And how do you see the question of national borders? Do you think that the current borders of your region needs to be preserved as they are? Rajana.
There are two small-numbered peoples in Buryatia. They are called Evenki people and the Soyots. We see the independent Buryatia as actually not an ethnic state of the Buryats. We see us as a political nation where all citizens of the country enjoy the same rights. But I think that as for the small-numbered peoples, like indigenous groups that live in our country, they would have even preferences in Buryatia because they need to be supported. And our state is willing to give that support. Of course, they will have their autonomy. Of course, they will have full support of their lifestyle, traditional lifestyle, of their language and culture. This goes without saying. As for the that's the Evenki. The question with the Evenki is actually a tricky one because they live all over Siberia. They're a very dispersed nation because they are traditionally hunters and reindeer herders. That's why they occupy vast territory of the taiga, of Siberian taiga. And just today we were discussing with colleagues this question, and there is a very fine example of how this can be actually achieved, how their rights can be preserved in this situation. It's Sami people and the Parliament of Sami that actually it unites Sami people that live in four countries, and that's how it is. Like in a democratic system, this is all solvable things. Like if you want to protect the right of the group that needs to be supported from the state, you give them all the rights that they need, and also they give them autonomy so that they can like have their governing bodies, and it will this is how it is actually done, and we don't even need to invent anything. It's already in place.
As just to clarify your position, do I understand you correctly that you see Buryatia in the current borders with the cultural autonomy of other nations which are living inside Buryatia, or it's a federal state? So just to be totally clear.
Actually, there is a question of Buryatia being also divided. You know, in 1937, Stalin divided Buryat-Mongolian Republic into 5 parts. And it was absolutely voluntarist and lawless act, which we are going to dispute. And we are going, of course, we are going to dispute it. We are going to have negotiations with these regions like Irkutsk Oblast and the Baikalsky Krai. And yes, and we are going to apply to international courts if needed. Of course, we are not going to, you know, fight. But at the same time, we understand that since this act of Stalin was lawless, we just need the historic justice to be restored. That's it.
Okay, so the borders you want to dispute, and about its ethnic minorities, it's a cultural autonomy, or it's a federalization inside Buryatia state?
What do you mean by federalization?
No,
I mean, it's like...
You say, for example, events, you know, so do they have
yes.
their self-governing for event-dominated territories? I think it just, to my knowledge, is the, you know, tiny number of
if we are
events.
talking about, you know, this greater Buryatia that was divided by Stalin and then all these districts coming back, then yes, I guess we are talking about a federal state. So it means that these autonomies of Evenki people that live actually in Bound region, like in the north of Kurumkansky region, of course they will have the autonomies.
Good, clear. And for our American friends to understand what we were talking about is there are 2 regions. Russia is divided in the same fashion as the United States divided into states. So there are 2 other regions which are no, it's, I mean, okay, please, like, please, you know, yes, yes. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, so it's please, you know, it's yes, by law it's a federal state with so-called federal units. So there are 2 regions which are neighbors to Buryatia. One is Irkutsk region and another is Chita region, currently called the Baikalsky Krai. And previously there were autonomies inside those 2 regions. In Irkutsk there was Buryat autonomy, and in Chitinska Oblast there was Buryat autonomy. And under Putin, they were merged with Irkutsk and Chita region, so they were annulled. And that's why we were talking about borders here, to understand this correctly. Yes, Pavel. Okay, indigenous people, I agree. Yes, Evenks, they are rather indigenous people. Yes, I agree. Now, Pavel, question to you. The same question is: are you to keep in the existing borders? So is Ingria the same as the current Leningrad? I would make the question more exact. What you are going to do with Finland? You know, where it was redistribution of land. So, are you keeping the borders as they are? You want to change them? And how you see Ingria is a unified state, or there would be some special rights for any ethnic minorities which are inside Ingria, if there are any, please?
Okay. Well, we're just, you know, assuming that there's a moment when Russian Federation dissolved. So there are parts, subjects of Russian Federation. We call them subjects, I mean, we can call them states. And they just, in the moment in time, they are independent. So my concept, my idea, at the beginning, all the borders are untouchable. All the borders should remain as they were in order to avoid immediate conflicts between the neighbors. Then, when the sovereignty of each region, each part, each independent republic is established, then there will be time to start negotiations between the neighbors. What stays and what goes, because obviously Finland has an absolute right to pretend to take Vyborg back. Vyborg was the second largest city in Finland until Stalin took it in 1940. There is a part of what is now called Leningradsky Oblast, so we believe it's in Ingria initially, but there's a big part of it which always have been Karelia, the neighboring region, the state which has more people who belongs to Karels. Then, I mean, again, what is Ingria today? The ingenious ingredients, which are Vort, Izhora, Veps, and Ingria-Finns, this is a tiny minority. They all together maybe 1.5% of the population of the region. The rest are, well, they believe they are Russians. That maybe changed. Maybe after it is an independent Ingria, slowly with education and all these sorts of, explaining to them that this is an independent state, they will feel that they're Ingrians. But as of today, I mean, say this collapse, this dissolution happens today, we are dealing with people who believe they are Russians. So, a lot of difficult issues, but at the beginning and as a principle, as the agreement, just, when we start the process, the borders are untouchable.
Okay. Additional question to Rajana. So on the same thing. Many people in post-Russia forum, when we are coming to the issue of borders, they tend to say, as many people ask questions about this, but many people say, okay, borders are untouchable. You now clearly say that you have a different vision, you have a vision of justice. But what if you, as a leader of the movement, would have to face a choice at the moment of declaring the independence, so that other territories of Russia becoming the new states would say, we're ready to recognize you under condition that you say that the borders are untouchable? Would you be willing to take this deal, or you would fight to the very end?
Perhaps I was misunderstood when I did not maybe specify when these negotiations are going to take place. Of course, at the moment when these when the hour will come and we will announce our independence, of course, it will be the Republic of Buryatia first. But our next steps would be, as a state, would be in negotiating the conditions of how we can get these territories and our people that were torn from us back. And I insist that it's not going to be anything like a violent conflict or anything like that, because we are talking about a civilized process when these things are being done. And it's not really anything new, because actually borders, they are not a sacred cow. They can be renegotiated. For example, Slovakia and Czech Republic, they divided quite peacefully. There was no conflict whatsoever. There was a partition of, like when the British Empire collapsed, there was a partition between India and Pakistan and then Bangladesh. And again, there was no war. Of course, there are tense relations, but there's no open war. And I don't think that we need to need to imagine anything terrible happening.
Again, just don't take me wrong. We will give the floor to questions. I just you know, because in all our discussions we usually have then a lot of questions coming, and I wanted people here in the audience and those who listen to us on YouTube to fully understand your vision, how you see it. In the examples that you brought, this was Poland and Czech Republic, you know, yes, was with Bangladesh, was some other places on this planet. Usually it's about the exchange of territories, you know, so one country is giving something, you know, another country is giving something else. And you are bringing these examples. Do you mean that you would be ready to give some territories in exchange for the ethnically Buryat territories on Irkutsk and Chita regions? Is that how you see it?
First of all, we don't know how Irkutsk and the Baikalsky Krai, how they are going to react to what is going to happen in the future. Perhaps they would suggest like if we all, what if we all become something, you know, bigger? In this case, we would have like even larger Republic of Buryatia. Who knows? Nobody knows it now, because I mean, we are right now, we are in the process of getting independence for Buryatia, and the Buryat people who would that live in these okrugs, in these districts, they would clearly want to come back to Buryatia. And if they express this will, of course, it will be their right. It will be their right to their self-determination, that they would like to become a unified nation again. I mean, I think that this is the question that is really should be posed in front of the people, to the people, because these people that live there, they're not just, they don't belong to some states, you know, they are states. They are states because they are subjects. And so I don't think that we need to discuss right now these questions of like of deals. It's not about a deal. It's about people's will.
Okay.
May I disagree? Or it's too early?
No, if you want to disagree, actually, please.
Not, I just disagree. I think, well, I believe that these, you know, what to do with the borders, and then as I stated already, it is about making deals. It is about negotiations between the parties. For example, it's not necessarily to exchange one land to another land. I mean, forgive me, but as far as I know, Siberia, there's not, I mean, what to do with this land? It's cold, and there's not much population. So there are things in this world which are more important now, which is people first, industry, agriculture. It all has to be in place. So instead of just exchanging territories, maybe one country, if she needs a piece of the neighbor, it can pay for that piece. You know, use different sort of resources to compensate the territorial, you know, acquisition. So that in that point, I disagree. So there is a place for deals, and the deals between the governments. Because forgive me, this, you know, global people democracy where every citizen decides, well, it probably will not work for these very complicated questions as, you know, borders.
Okay, I will try not to express, like, you really want to, like, because I want to finish the the questions, you know, and then, yes, we'll give floor to you before they will start asking each other, you know, as I see that everybody wants to jump in. It's such a subject, you know, but probably the most tricky question, but it's been asked every time when people are debating about independence of the regions. In both of your regions, according to official census, ethnical majority is Russian, both in Buryatia and in Ingria. Well, the question is obviously, do you believe in this census? Maybe you would say that it's different, but nevertheless, the question, what would happen with those Russians? Because during the collapse of the Soviet Union, there were a lot of human tragedies that are related to this and a lot of problems. Okay, because you intervened, so Rajana.
I think that now this situation is changing. I mean, it's not as it was during the Soviet Union, because the number of Buryats is actually growing. Well, it was growing before, you know, this war has started, and a lot of people were sent to the front and died, and a lot more people, I think, had to flee and ended up in exile, in immigration. And so, as I said, I wouldn't say that right now we are actually in this, the Russians are a vast majority. They are still a majority, but it is not overwhelming. It is, and yes, if you take into account the age of the people, right, you would see that Russian population is actually aging in Buryatia, as in Russia, while Buryat population is actually much younger. So, like in 20 years, we'll have a completely different situation, different picture. So this is all changing. It is not set like, you know, in letters on stone.
No, yeah, but still there are areas in Buryatia where it's virtually completely Russian. There are areas in Buryatia which is virtually completely Buryat. Mm-hmm. And you said about the political nation. Mm-hmm. So would you encourage a situation when you do not judge people by nationality, or vice versa? You would promote so discrimination, no discrimination, positive discrimination, negative discrimination, so or you will just ignore the ethnical thing?
Well, of course, when Buryatia becomes independent, the status of the Buryat language will change, because right now Buryat language is like already it was told earlier. Marina mentioned that in 2014 it became not obligatory to learn it at school. So right now the situation is such that Buryat is now in the book of endangered languages. So a very drastic measures should be taken to restore and revitalize the language. So I mean, we are not talking about discrimination against the Russian population. We are talking about stopping discrimination against Buryat people in Buryatia, because right now we are discriminated against, and that needs to be stopped. It needs to be, we should have the right to learn our language, to use it, because it's, we have nowhere to go. Right? And if it's going to be our country, we need to restore the language. That's it. As for the rights of the Russian people, I don't know how, what is actually an example of discrimination in your mind? Because I can't imagine any examples.
I'm saying about the policies, because I was witnessing myself personally the situation in Yakutia in the 1990s, and you know, I would say very big friend of Mikhail Nikolaev, who was doing this. So I'm supporting this policy. So he was doing a lot of conscious effort how to develop Sakha culture and Sakha language and Sakha theater, and it was facilitating intergovernment exchanges, student exchanges, everything. And it was specifically for Sakha, so it was not discriminating other nations, but the money that were invested in particular for those who were speaking Sakha and just Sakha. So that's the example of positive thing. It could be negative, it could be filtering out. If you don't speak the language, for example, you cannot join the government position, or you cannot perform certain duties, or apply for certain jobs. That's negative discrimination.
Actually, I would like to say some words about Yakutia, because I know an activist. He's now a member of the Yakutian parliament, and he was the first man to open a school where Yakut language was not only taught as language and literature, but also such subjects as maths, physics, geography, history, and different other subjects. They were all taught in Yakutian language. And this was a huge endeavor and huge success of the Yakut people, I would say. So I don't know how these efforts to revitalize the language are actually being a negative discrimination against Russian population. I still don't see this. I don't see the what you mean. And also, may I also give the floor to one of the Buryat activists that wanted to answer this particular question.
No, if answer, yes.
Yes,
just
to answer
please
this question.
briefly, okay? So we are
Good evening.
behind the schedule.
My name is Julia Kadzagaeva. I'm an independent decolonial activist from Buryatia. So the question of what to do with ethnic Russians in ethnic regions of Russia is most discussable now. And I just want to put your attention on the one fact. The ethnic Russians in the province, their identity is different from like Moscow Russians, because they were born in Buryatia, they know that Buryat actually exists and this is their land. And I would say they would have like less conflict with independency than Moscow guys. And let's look at the past, recent past, Kazakhstan. So in 1991, when Kazakhstan obtained its independence, there were 30% of Kazakh ethnics and 70% of ethnic Russians. And now, 30 years later, it's completely opposite. 30% of ethnic Russians and 70% of Kazakh, because those Russians who want to live in their, like, amongst the Russians, they fled to Russia. And this is what we're supposed to see in a post-Russia era. So people who want to identify themselves as like pure Russian, they will go to their ethnic relatives, to Moscow or a central region. And this process is already on board. I mean, the migration process started maybe 10 years ago. So the share of ethnic Russian is decreasing in ethnic republics. This is what we need to understand. And as I said, their identity is different. For example, I knew Russians who were born in Buryatia, and they even were able to speak Buryat language, and they didn't see any conflict with it. So their identity belonged to this land. It's different from Moscow-centered people. Thank you.
So,
Thank
Yeah.
you. And I just
Rajana,
little
please.
bit short. Okay.
No, yeah, we're just running out of time, so it's Pavel, question to you, but please briefly. So it's Ingria is a unitary state, federalist state, and what is the ethical aspect of building Ingria? Would you be requiring some census on people who should be born in Saint Petersburg? What about it?
I was not. Okay. Again, be more legally specific. Yes, it's going to be unitarian state, so not a federation, not a confederation. However, the rights of the districts or municipalities has to be, dramatically increased. So it has to be a level of sovereignty, if I may put it that way, of the districts and of the municipalities comparable to the one I can see in Estonia, for example, or in the United States. That's the proper level of, lower level to decide on their lives, on their land, what to build, what not to build, and what language to teach in schools, many other things. That has to be not really decided on top of the country, even if it is a unitarian state, because it's a proper size. It's less than 10 million people, size of Austria. There's no need for federation, from my point of view. There can be a larger federation in UN,
Okay. Three questions almost the same, and please very briefly answer. Current day United States, do you see it as an ally, as adversary, or just one of the countries there in the world?
Of course, it is not an adversary. As for there are, as I was able to see today, there are a lot of people who actually can be considered our allies, and the fact that they accept us here, that they have us here, and we talk in such high places speaks for itself. That there are people who are in the establishment who will support us, and I believe that that's a good. The good thing about American politics is that it's not, with Putin, who sits in power for 25 years, right? It's like 4 years and then it changes.
So you said not an adversary, but an ally, or just one of the players?
I think one of the
so many people,
yes,
so many politicians in this country are saying no, we would allow Russia to collapse.
Yeah.
We should stay the way it is.
So one of the
for you,
players,
it
I
has to be a
guess,
question.
but our goal is to find allies. That's it.
But not yet an ally.
Well, why United States policy, foreign policy is what you just said, because of the nuclear weapons on the territory of Russia. So if Russia collapses, we here in the US, our politicians, they believe that it will be less security for the national American interest and for the United States territory. I disagree with this foreign policy. It's been in place for so many years, and now has to be changed. That's my idea. So how Ingria would treat United States? Well, reciprocally. If current government of the United States completely does not care about the land, why should we are? We need, of course, economical. We need trade. We need good conditions for our export, things like this. But if you don't care about us, well, why should we?
So I understand correctly. It's just one of countries, treated equally. The same question: how you see Ukraine?
We see Ukraine as our ally, and of course, we support fully heroic struggle of Ukraine, and we are very grateful for recognizing us as captive nations. It's like the old logo for your and our freedom.
Pavel?
It's simple. Slava Ukraini.
Героям.
It's not, Ukraine is the inspiration for us what to do with this Moscow regime if we have a chance. Of course, Ukraine was already for 30 plus years independent, but they now fight for the independence. So that's like how we should do it. And I believe in Moscow, in Kremlin, they do understand. That is why they already call us extremists, right? All of us, without exceptions, the nations and movements. This is what they're afraid of, and they should.
Okay, that was easy. Russian opposition.
Shall I start?
Please, if you want.
Well, you and I, and Rajana probably as well, we are part of Russian opposition. I mean, this is that what we have. We cannot change that. But Moscow-centric Russian opposition is who constantly in dispute with us, right? And they, they're not here. I was calling them to come. They are not here precisely because they don't like our ideas and they don't support us.
One of the leaders is actually Buryat national living here in DC, but she never comes.
Exactly, Natalia, yeah. So they're wrong. They should change their thinking. The reason for them behaving like this are mainly grants from the United States government. So now when they're cut off, at least big part of these grants, maybe they rethink. And Natalia Budayeva would come back to her, I mean, she's a very smart lady, and she loves her land. So let's see, let's give her time.
Okay. Rajana?
Yes, there's a Moscow-centric opposition that's very well put. There are some other members of the opposition that used to be together, but now they're not. For example, I think that Kasparov is now actually embracing the idea of independence of the regions and nations of Russia, which is a great thing. But I think that leaders of like public opinion, like Yashin or Karamurza or Yulia Navalny, I don't think that they have a lot of support even in Russia, because when they organized a march in Berlin last time, there was less than 500 people, and we know that in Berlin there are hundreds of thousands of Russian-speaking people, and they couldn't even
Yes, Rajana.
yes, that's it. Okay.
So, not an ally. Okay. Very, very quickly, do you think that you are supported in your regions? Do they know about your existence? And are you ready to go back as soon as Putin is gone?
I had to emigrate from Buryatia at the end of 2000, like in 2009, because I was actually became notorious in Buryatia. They were calling me a radical for organizing peaceful rallies and picketing, and I also tried to bring Polish NGOs to Buryatia, and also there were even training. We were organizing trainings in Buryatia for NGOs. Yes, I understand. And there were people from Lvov. The trainers were from Lvov, and they said that we organizing Orange Revolution in Buryatia. So Of course, people know what we are doing because we are broadcasting. We have our media, and yes, there is support.
So are you ready to go back,
Of course.
Pavel?
Sure, I'm ready to go back. I was pushed out, and basically the choice was either immigration or prison. You know, as Ilya and about Rajana, I'm convicted in Russia. So, but still, you know, as soon as the regime collapses and Putin's gone, yes, of course, I'm ready to go back and do. Hopefully, I will have.
And how popular is Ingrid idea in St. Petersburg?
Well, it's. I would say 25% of whole population knows what Ingrid is. You know, it's not a bad result, especially I believe 2-3 years ago, only 10% was aware. So it's a growing process, but still, you know, it's a very Russian region.
Okay, very, very quickly. You know, if it happens that it would be the current authorities of your regions who in the moment of the collapse of regime would say, now we are independent. So Tsidenov and Beglov, they would say, we are independent. Would you support them or would you fight against them? Rajana.
First of all, this seems really unrealistic because Tsidenov was actually put in Buryatia by Putin. He's a creation of Putin, and I anticipate actually a palsy of power. When Moscow falls, there will be you know, vacuum. And that's when we are going to act.
If you are faced such a choice?
I don't think so, because he is a war criminal, as I said. We won't let him go away with what he's done.
Okay, so you would not support him even if
No,
okay.
no.
Well,
I believe it makes absolutely no sense to support current Putin-appointed governors of any region, including Leningradskaya Oblast. I mean, I don't even know his name actually.
I know your governor.
No, you know the mayor of St. Petersburg. Do you know the governor of Leningrad? Because these are separate, formally separate regions. Yeah. No idea who is the governor of Leningradskaya Oblast. But these are Putin appointees. These are his servants. So I don't believe they will pretend to be leaders, but if they do, you know, their quality as administrators is so low.
Okay.
You don't need that.
Final question, and just yes or no. Are you ready to fight for the independence, or you want to rely on just non-violent methods?
Well, it's
Yes or no?
yes.
Yes, ready.
Good. Well, we have radicals here, so please. Okay. So I see who you were the first, and then you, and then you, and then you, and then you, and then. That's not, yeah. We need the mic.
Hello. Okay. I'm Ralph Winnie. I'm with the Eurasia Center. I've listened to the presentation. I'm somewhat uncomfortable in the sense that I look at history. I look at what happened specifically with Yugoslavia, where you had a megalomaniac in Tito that forcibly integrated everyone, the Serbs, the Croats, the Muslims. They all grew up together, baked bread, went to weddings, funerals. When Tito died, all of a sudden you had the breakup of the republics, Serbia, Croatia, Bosnia. Well, what happened to the ethnic minorities in Serbia, Croatia, and Bosnia? All of a sudden, they no longer had rights. It didn't matter that these were their friends and their neighbors. The perception was, you know, they may have been good citizens under Tito, but they're fifth columnists. They're not like us. For instance, you talk about the ethnic Russians that are fluent in Borat, that have only known living in Borat, okay? What happens when all of a sudden you want to declare your republic? What happens to these ethnic Russians? They're not Borats, they're ethnic Russians. You know, they start having to hide from people like you who they believe are their friends. This is my concern once Putin leaves. Putin's terrible, but what happens with the breakup of all these republics? It's going to lead to the situation in Yugoslavia. That's my greatest fear.
I think that in this case, Serbia is actually mini Russia. And in this scenario that you are actually now described, it's like Serbians or Russians would do, if they are capable, these horrible things to us because we would like to be independent. So it's not the question that Buryats are going to persecute ethnic Russians. It's vice versa, because Russians, as many times was already said, are still a majority. And if they want to do it, they can actually, massacre us. Because this was actually the time during the civil war in Russia when Buryat villages were actually, yes, it was the same situation as, for example, in Bosnia, when Serbians were killing ethnic Bosnians. The same happened to Buryats. And I think that in this situation, we might feel endangered like this because, but at the same time, I'm not sure that, sorry, I'm sure that it's not going to happen because I'm sure that, yes, I understand. Yes, I know.
Yes, please speak in the mic, and you know, is an exchange. Please, yes,
yes.
please.
My name is Cammy Bhatt. I'm with the Pakistani Spectator, and my question is there any way you can match your approach with the Trump belief, who think that it's none of our business what Putin is doing in his area, as Putin doesn't have any right to come to Mexico and create trouble in America. Similarly, we don't have any right to do whatever Putin wants for his part of the world. So I mean, most people who voted for Trump, including me, they voted because he doesn't want to mess around with the other countries. So my point again is this, my question is that, can you change your approach and match your approach to a Trump approach, because he is the one, like who said he has a card. You guys don't have cards. Thanks.
It's first of all, it's not a card game. Secondly, Putin has no rights to the territories. He is not. I mean, okay, he may believe he is a tsar. He is whatever he believes. Same to Trump. It doesn't matter. The reality is different. So Buryatia is not Putin's land. So these are two things, to pre-answer your question. And I believe, so then the answer would be quite simple. If Trump doesn't care about us, okay. I mean, that's the reality. We cannot change him. Maybe, as an American, I can vote for a different person to be president. That's all I can do. But it's a very, minor chance. So let's live with what we have. And Putin is an enemy. Putin is, the one who kills people. He's a criminal. Trump, hopefully, is not. So.
Rajana, it seems that Buryat people are very strongly represented in decolonization of Russia movements, seemingly more so than Sakha people or Tuvan people. Why do you think that is? And then the question for both of you is, the kind of skepticism I think these ideas will face is that people in the different minority groups in Russia may say that given a choice between what we already know, no matter how bad it may be, we prefer what we already know to the uncertainty of what separation from Russia would bring. What's your response to that?
One of the values of the Buryat culture is education. Buryats traditionally would consider education and knowledge real value, not the gold, not possessions, but knowledge. And I think that's why there are a lot of Buryats who are now well educated, and they started having these new ideas, because in Russia, decolonization ideas were blocked. In Russian academia, they were never discussed. I was in Russian academia in 2006, and then I went to Poland, and suddenly I found out that there were post-colonial studies, and I didn't know about that because we are that isolated in Russia, even academics. Now it is changing, and a lot of people are embracing these ideas. I guess that's maybe the answer to that question. As for the, you said that people in Buryatia maybe feel this uncertainty. In other regions. Mm-hmm. I see, yeah. Yes, I think that, of course, there is a lot of uncertainty, but it is changing. You know, my relatives are saying that when they talked to people in 2002, and they were saying, you know, perhaps it is better if we become independent, and these people would say, oh no, it's like, it's such a foreign idea, how would you come up to that? And now, when they are saying the same things, they're already saying, okay, maybe it makes sense. Yeah.
Your question, just the mic. Okay.
Yeah.
You were okay. No, he was first. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He was first.
Okay. Hi, I'm Ned O'Brien. I'm a retired Foreign Service officer from the Department of State. I actually served in Bosnia, so I'm very familiar with the breakup of Yugoslavia and the aftermath of that. My question is, if I want to go back a little bit further, when empires break up, it's always messy. You know, if you look at the moment in history when multiple empires broke up, 1918, you know, you had certain regions like the Saarland on the border of France and Germany. The French government was pushing very hard for them to become part of France. You know, I think there were three options: join France, join Germany, remain independent. And there was a plebiscite, I think under the auspices of the League of Nations, and they chose to remain German. Same thing with the border region between Austria and Hungary. When the Habsburg Empire broke up at the same time, you had Burgenland that decided to remain Austrian, and then the city of Sopron that said, no, we're going to stay part of Hungary. On the opposite end of the spectrum, you had Poland, who fought border wars with the Lithuanians, with the Czechs, with everybody, because they didn't have plebiscites in place that worked. So under whose auspices, if you want to consider, I know, Pavel, you don't seem to consider the borders fungible, but I think, Rajana, you do. How do you want this to happen? How do you see a peaceful, civilized, organized way of having that self-determination at the Razpad of Russia?
It's, as I said before, and that you are very right, it's a very difficult process. And whether to give it to the people to decide on a plebiscite, on a referendum or not, it's a big question. I would prefer not to let people decide, on that very serious and very controversial questions. But it depends on the leadership. So Poland became Poland because they had Pilsudski. Probably without him, it wouldn't be Poland at that time, but who knows? So these are very difficult questions. So we need that's why we need to agree on the principles. That's why I believe that preservation of borders at the beginning is the right thing, and then agreements between the neighbors, like Latvia, after the 1918, got and gave to Lithuania a piece of Baltic Sea because Lithuania left with nothing. So they, I mean, not as a gift, but they gave it because they had enough of Baltic Sea and Lithuania didn't. So this was an agreement between two new independent countries. So it's possible, it's doable without the sort of conflict like in former Yugoslavia.
Yeah, I actually agree to this, and I think that, of course, when Buryatia becomes independent, and then there would be a question of what would become with the adjacent regions, like what they want to be. Maybe they decide that they want to be a Siberian Republic, right? Then we would negotiate or with the Siberian Republic, the future of these territories, and it's of course, there will be cultural ties with the Republic and these regions. They should be restored totally, and we would. I mean, it is not done immediately, of course. There will be a process, and perhaps it will be a long process. But it's something that we are willing to do. We are willing to wait. We are willing to restore our ties gradually. That's it.
Please, last question, and I see people want to party. So so the last question, and then we will move other questions. More informal. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much. My name is Ben. I'm with Viregia Center here in Washington. Thank you for insight about what's going on in your part of the world there. How realistic is your dream, your vision for an independent state within Russia in the context of Vladimir Putin dreaming about reconstructing the Soviet Union? How realistic is this? And beyond that, is there any partner, outside partner, supporting you on that line?
Well, I guess we need to ask the question, how realistic are these dreams of Putin to restore the Soviet Union? Because right now, he is in a very, very hard situation. Russia is in a very hard situation, and it doesn't have any resources, economic, military, or human resources to endeavor any of these plans, to endeavor any of this, because, I mean, look what is happening in Ukraine. And we are talking now about the defeat of Russia in Ukraine. And when it happens, then it will mean end of Putin. And that's why the plans of Buryatia, Ingria, Bashkortostan, Sakha gaining independence are really feasible.
No, I think I have nothing to add, but thank you for your question.
No, do you think that your dream of independent Ingria as a state is real?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, otherwise, why should I dream about it? I want this to happen, and it will happen. Maybe not fast, and we definitely don't know when, but there will be time. And because it's better for the people of Ingria to be independent, at least to decide their future on their own, rather than to get decisions from Moscow, then it should happen. What?
Who are your backers outside Russia?
Backers outside Russia? Well, I believe all Baltic states are in support. They very often they do not articulate publicly that they do, but they should. Again, it's logical for them to have a good neighbor state like them, rather than a big and dangerous country like Russia today.
And obviously Ukraine. So to
And Mongolia, Baltic states, Poland.
right. So friends, I would like to conclude. I hope that these debates they helped you understand what's going on and the positions that our distinguished panelists have. I personally would say that in 1991, I myself did not believe that the Soviet Union would collapse. In the March referendum, people voted for the preservation of the Soviet Union, and half a year later, the very same people, for example, in Ukraine, voted the opposite way. So it may happen every day, and I do believe that all policymakers, they at least should have their plans if this would materialize, but obviously that's not in the hands of the United States or Poland or Ukraine or whoever else, but it's in the hands of people who are living in the regions in question. And they are to decide. And the history would make things right. Hopefully, it would be without violence, without blood, and that's what we politicians want to work on. Thank you very much for coming, and please enjoy drinks, food, and let's talk. Боялся, что немножко переживать,